Hello, my name is Alison, and I have a lot to say about movies. From lists and stories to celebrities I love to look at and those who drive me crazy. Join me as I talk about whatever's on my mind at the moment. Welcome to Say Anything with Alison. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Say Anything with Alison. I'm your host, Alison. A little known fact, actually, if you know me, you know this, but I don't think I've talked about it a lot on the podcast, but I am a big food lover. I will try anything once. I adore cooking, not so much baking. Baking's hard because if you get one little thing wrong, it throws off the whole thing. It's like a science experiment. So I'm not the best baker, but I'll eat stuff that's baked. I don't discriminate against baked goods. However, I love to cook. If I could have any job or any career, if I could go back and redo, what I would want to be when I grow up, it would be to be a chef. And unfortunately, I think that ship has sailed. I don't know how many people in their 40s have gone back to culinary school to make it as a chef, but whatever. I'm sure there has been people, but I digress. The point of this is I love food. I love eating food. I love cooking food. I love it, love it, love it. So I thought I would do a list about my favorite food scenes or movies that surround food or that have food kind of in the subject. Just when I think about food in movies, these are the 10 that come to mind. And yes, there's 10. So number 10, we're going to start with, you got to start with this, right? Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. And just watching this movie as a kid, the scene when they walk into the actual chocolate factory, what kid didn't want to be in their shoes? I'm not a huge chocolate person. I would much rather have peanut butter. Peanut butter is everything. However, when the kids are walking around and eating the giant gummy bears and they were drinking the stuff out of the what looked like butterscotch cups, and Veruca popped open this giant ball thing and started scooping out, which I still to this day think is some type of strawberry jam concoction. I just thought, this looks great. Forget the chocolate. I want to eat all this other sugary stuff. I want to eat custard and I want to eat licorice, not black, red. And I want to eat the gummy bears and all this good stuff. And, if you want to give me a little cup of chocolate, that's fine, but I want the other stuff. So that's number 10. That's, the sweet tooth in me saying Willy Wonka. Number 9 is another sweet tooth movie. I promise everything after this is savory, but number 9 is Marie Antoinette. This movie is so pretty. It's such a gorgeous, beautiful movie to watch. I haven't seen it in a long time, but it's just the colors, the pastels, the outfits that Sofia Coppola had them wear. It's just gorgeous. It's just a beautiful movie. But when people start bringing Marie Antoinette, played by Kirsten Dunst, all these macaroons and pastries and cakes, it's just this glutton scene of yumminess. I remember watching the movie and saying, those macaroon cookie things look delightful. Like they come in every flavor and every color of the rainbow. And I just thought, man, I need to get some of these. And I could never find them. Fast forward to like 10 years later, and macaroons are like this new thing and they're in the mall. So I got a bunch because I love pistachio. I love pistachios. I love pistachio flavor. And they had a pistachio one and a raspberry one and all these pretty colors. And I bought like 12 of them and they weren't cheap. And I went home and I took a bite of them and I said, ew, I don't really like these. The inside of the cookie was good, like whatever kind of like jelly or jam they put in there. But something about these cake/cookie things on top, I don't know. They just seemed kind of dry. So to this day, I do not like macaroons. They're beautiful to look at, but I don't like them. But this scene in Marie Antoinette, it's worth watching the movie just for this scene. It's just, there's just so many, cakes and pastries coming towards her face, and she's just laying there and just loving it. And I just think it's so cute. So that's my number 9. Number 8 is fried green tomatoes. Now, I know what you're saying. Fried green tomatoes is not a movie about food. You're right. However, fried green tomatoes obviously is a movie that has fried green tomatoes in it. And when they were at the Whistle Stop Cafe and they were making these yummy, crispy, greasy fried green tomatoes, I had never heard of such a thing when I was younger watching that movie. Of course, I'd heard of a red tomato, but what the heck was a green tomato? I was never a big fan of tomatoes, still aren't. However, I will eat me some fried green tomatoes because these taste delicious. And there was a restaurant in Tampa. It was there for like 50 years. It was called the Colonnade. It was right on the water of Bayshore. And it recently went out of business. And I used to go there with my mom and my dad and my grandparents. It was basically one of those fancy restaurants that you would take out of towners. Like, I live in Florida on the water, and here, come to this really fancy restaurant where you can look out on the water, and we will get you their famous fried green tomatoes. And they had this yummy remoulade sauce that went with it. And it was delightful. And when I found out they had fried green tomatoes, I told my mom, I was like, Mom, this is just like Iggy in fried green tomatoes. And I was like, we have to order these. And I fell in love with them. Fried green tomatoes are the best. So anytime that movie's on, although it's a great movie, I enjoy them making fried green tomatoes in the Whistle Stop Cafe. And I enjoy watching the people eat them. And it just brings me back to that memory of going to that restaurant growing up in Tampa. Rest in peace, Colonnade Restaurant. We got to bring somebody back that has good fried green tomatoes. So if you know any, put it in the comments. Number 7 is a movie called Big Night. And this stars Tony Shalhoub and Stanley Tucci. Side note, I don't know if you have watched, I think it's on Apple or HBO. Stanley Tucci goes around Europe and Italy, and he just like eats his way through. And because he's Italian, obviously, and he just shows you how all these dishes are made. And he is just delightful. I love Stanley Tucci. What a great guy, but it's really interesting. But just be warned that when you watch it, you're going to want to immediately order a big bowl of pasta. So Tony Shalhoub and Stanley Tucci play Italian brothers. They have a restaurant in New York, and one of them is really like uppity chef, and he won't go outside of the traditional Italian food, no matter what the regular people come in and say they want. He's by the book. And Stanley Tucci's character is he's the manager, and he's just like, whatever, we just want to run, a decent restaurant and make money. So they compromise and they pull out like all the stops and all the, rigmarole for what is called the Big Night. It's a benefit concert that they're doing. And they bring out the Timpano. Now, I don't know if you've ever seen what Timpano is. Timpano is an Italian dish. It's huge. It's this giant pasta dish, and they bake it in a round dome-like bowl. And there's variations on it, but it's like pasta and eggplant and dough and sausage or shrimp. And there's layers and layers and layers and layers. And it bakes, and you take it out and you flip it over, and it comes out it's supposed to come out, hopefully, if you made it right, it's supposed to come out perfectly from this round bowl. And it sits on this plate, and it looks like it weighs 50 pounds, and you're going to gain 50 pounds from eating one little slice of it. And it just looks so yummy and amazing. And ever since I've watched this movie, I would love to go to an Italian family's house and just say, make me a Timpano. And they're going to look at me and be like, what are you high? It takes like hours. And, who are you? It's probably a very expensive dish, but watch that movie. It's really good. watch Stanley Tucci's show on Apple and or HBO. I don't know, go on both and see which one comes up. And Google what a timpano looks like, because it just, oh my God, my mouth is watering just thinking of it. Don't be confused with timpano, I think it is, which is a giant drum. No, timpano. Okay. Next we have, and this is silly. I don't know. I always have to put Back to the Future movies in a list. I don't know. I can't help it. What can I say? But I put Back to the Future 2 as my next one. And that is strictly because of the futuristic pizza. Hello. They have this dehydrator and they put this teeny little pizza in, and bing, a minute later, it's a Pizza Hut pizza, full-size large pizza to feed a family, half peppers, half, I think it was pepperoni. I thought that was the newest thing. I thought by 2022, we would all have a food dehydrator. You just stuck this little thing in, and 30 seconds to a minute later, boom, you had a pizza. Nope, we are not so lucky. I loved that scene. I thought it was hysterical. The thing with the fruit and vegetables that came out from the ceiling, that was kind of cool, but yeah, it wasn't as cool as the dehydrator pizza. Next is number 5, and that would be Waiting. Again, this movie is, in a Bennigan's Chili's type of establishment for the most part. I mean, who are we kidding? I'm really putting this in my list because it stars Ryan Reynolds. However, there are some good food scenes in this. Anybody who has gone to an Applebee's or a Chili's can attest to that. You got the steak, you got the riblets, you got the burger that falls on the ground, you got the steak that falls on the ground that they wipe all over their private areas and put on the customer's plate because they've been nasty. It's got everything. It's got everything. And it also has some hot looking waiters and waitresses. So I added that into there. Moving on. Number 4, Ratatouille. Now, Ratatouille was a good Pixar movie. Not for me because they had, the story and the little rat, and I fell in love with the characters. No, my friends. It has nothing to do with the story. It was all about the food. I just sat there watching the cartoon people make cartoon food. And I was like, see, this is what I want to be. This is what I want to do. I want a little rat to help me during culinary school. And it was the first time I had ever seen or even heard of Ratatouille, I think. I don't know. Maybe I've heard it before, but I didn't know what it was. When that rat and that chef made Ratatouille and brought it out, it looked good, right? I don't think I would like it because I'm not a huge, what is it? Just like zucchini and squash and tomatoes and stuff layered. I don't know. I don't think I would like it. However, the movie made it look delicious with all the cute little layers, the way it was like propped up. And I don't know. It was just like so symmetric and perfect. And it just looked amazing. And ever since then, I've wanted to try Ratatouille. So I don't know, maybe I'll get like a mandolin and start like slicing some zucchini and make Ratatouille. I don't think I'm going to like it because I already said I don't like tomatoes, but I don't know. Maybe I'll just look at it. So I don't know. The next 3 are my favorites when I think of food movies. Number 3 is Chef. If you haven't seen Chef, which stars Jon Favreau, please do yourself a favor and go watch it. I think it's always on Netflix. It's such a charming and delightful movie. He played Carl, and he worked at a really upscale hoity-toity restaurant, and he's frustrated by this menu that is just the same old stuff over and over again. And the boss insists on him, making this menu. And in Jon Favreau style, I guess, he loses his temper. He quits his job. Actually, he might have been fired. I don't know, but he doesn't work there anymore. And he decides to go back to his roots and make Cuban food. And he gets a food truck and he makes Cuban sandwiches with his estranged son. and it's about them building a relationship. And it's kind of about just doing what you want to do. Be true to yourself. You don't have to work in this fancy restaurant if that's not making you happy. It's such a good movie. It's such a feel-good movie. And it'll make you want a Cuban sandwich. I don't even like Cuban sandwiches, and it makes me want a Cuban sandwich. It makes me want beans and rice and empanadas and all this yummy, 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 yummy stuff. I also think it's one of the first movies that showed food trucks. And now food trucks are everywhere. But I was like, what is this? This is awesome. Food trucks are cool. Side note, if you haven't watched I think it's also called The Chef Show with Jon Favreau on Netflix, where he cooks and he's side by side with this other guy. I forget his name. Oh, I'm going to be upset. I forget his name. It's so good. But he actually trained him on the movie Chef how to cook. And so I think it's on like their second or third season, and they both cook together and they bring special guests on. They had Tom Holland on one time, and it's just such a good show, such a good show. So if Jon Favreau can cook, I can cook, right? Yeah. Number 2 is Waitress. Waitress stars my beloved Carrie Russell from The Americans and Felicity. She plays Jenna. She's this kind of like, I don't know, country hillbilly waitress that works in a diner. She's pregnant. She's having marital problems. She's sleeping with her doctor. She loves baking pies. And she practices making pies at this diner. And all she wants to do is go to the local bake-off, win first place, win the prize money, and just leave her husband. That's all she wants to do. I mean, whatever. But man, this movie will make you want to bake up a storm. After I watched this movie, I went out and bought a pie pan, like a ceramic pie dish. Ask me how many times I've used it. I've used it every year for green bean casserole. It's not a pie. I've never put a pie in it because I'm scared. I don't know how to make a pie. I don't know how to make a pie dough and make the lattice that they do with the pies. But watching this movie will make you want to make a homemade chocolate pie, which brings me to, I think, another reason I love this movie so much, not just because it's her, but my grandma on my mom's side, who has passed away, used to make a homemade chocolate pie with homemade dough, not dough, the crust, the homemade crust. And it was so decadent and so rich. And I really want to ask my mom if she has the recipe so I can learn how to do it, because every time I see a chocolate pie, I think of my grandma, and it just makes me so happy because I used to spend the night at her house and she'd always have that pie for me. And oh, it was so good. I also loved that Jenna had really cute names for this pie. She didn't actually call it this in the diner, but while she was making the pie, she'd say something funny like, so her husband was Earl. She'd be like, now I'm going to make Earl murders me because I'm having an affair pie. And she'd read off the ingredients and you'd see her make it. It was just so cute. So if you haven't seen Waitress, watch that movie. It's a really cute, fun movie. And they made a, whatchamacallit. I'm sorry, guys. All this food talk is making me just like so off track. All I can see is this chocolate pie now. They made Waitress into a play on Broadway. So I don't know. Somebody other than me must have liked the movie. And now we come to number 1. Drum roll, please. So my number 1 food movie has to be Julie and Julia. I love Julia Child. Love it, love it, love it. And this movie was just so brilliant. It was based on this woman named Julie deciding that she was going to buy Julia Child's cookbook and basically go through every single recipe and make everything. And if you've seen the book, it's huge. Like, I don't know how many recipes, but it was probably like 50 recipes. And everything that she made, it just looked so yummy. And especially the beef bouillon. I don't know. I can't say beef bouillon with the wine, and she burnt it. And It was just such a good movie. And Stanley Tucci was in that movie too, I believe, wasn't he? Yeah, Julia Child's husband. But I love watching Julia Child cook. I've been watching the Julia show on HBO, which is really good. And what a delightful person. She just wanted everybody to learn the art of French cooking and basically show you that anybody can do it. Anybody can make a creme anglaise, and anybody can make beef bouillon, even if you can't pronounce it. And everybody can make this. She taught me how to make the perfect omelet. It's really easy. It's like 30 seconds, but she taught me how to do it. I don't even like eggs, you guys. Don't even like eggs, but I can make a French omelet. So that movie is near and dear to my heart. I love it. So those are my top 10 movies when I think of food, good food scenes, good food in the movies, just good food all around. What are yours? Have I made you hungry for food? What movies did I miss? I know a lot of people might say, like, what about Eat, Pray, Love? That's fine. What about Chocolat? Or, I also thought about putting 9.5 Weeks on there just for the food scene. But that was just random food that they were using seductively, which, yeah, it was a hot scene, but that's not going to make me want to cook or anything like that, where these movies make me want to eat or cook. So, yeah. So let me know in the comments if you disagree with me, if you know how to say beef bouillon, if you've had ratatouille, send me a picture. Until next time, and I hope you guys go and have lots of yummy food for dinner or lunch or breakfast or whenever you're listening to this. And I will see you next time when who knows what I'll say. Talk to you later. Bye.